Bueno, buenas tardes a todos. Eh, Me presento, mi nombre es Camila, yo soy referente de la Fundación SOIJAR, el Sistema de Orquestas Infantiles y Juveniles de Argentina. Y bueno, estamos todos reunidos aquí, les damos la bienvenida y vamos a contextualizar un poco de qué va esta capacitación, ¿no? La Fundación, el Sistema de Orquestas Infantiles y Juveniles de Argentina, en convenio con el Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts, el LIPA, y UBATEC, a partir del apoyo del British Council, está presentando en esta oportunidad el primer concurso de arreglos, los Beatles desde la metodología orquesta-escuela. Bueno, esta convocatoria tiene como finalidad valorar la labor de arregladores argentinos y británicos, quienes, en este caso utilizando la música como instrumento, aportarán a la creación de un arreglo para un cancionero de la banda británica The Beatles, que integre en este caso una multiplicidad de niveles técnicos. Y bueno, esta difusión y selección de arreglos está destinada a distintos orgánicos orquestales y sinfónico-corales que utilicen la estrategia multinivel propia de la metodología orquesta-escuela, que es lo que divulgamos y promulgamos desde la MOE, como herramienta para la inclusión, la integración y la promoción de sus participantes. Para iniciarse en la estrategia multinivel que propone la metodología orquesta-escuela, desde la Fundación SOIJAR se está impulsando un conjunto de capacitaciones para, de alguna manera, digamos, comenzar la formación en lo que tiene que ver con las características de la metodología, ¿sí? Y a su vez, estas son capacitaciones que son gratuitas, accesibles a todos y que otorgan un puntaje extra a la hora de inscribirse en este concurso de arreglos que se está presentando. A su vez, hoy tenemos la oportunidad de contar con otra de las capacitaciones, que es una capacitación en el mundo de los Beatles, que va a estar a cargo, bueno, ya ahora lo vamos a presentar dentro de un rato, pero lo importante es que estas capacitaciones tienen un puntaje extra y que ese puntaje es otorgado en este momento cuando ustedes se presenten, se pongan como en el chat, tienen que poner su nombre completo como para poder acreditar, digamos, esta capacitación. Y en caso que no hayan podido estar hoy, como decíamos hace un rato, como esta reunión va a estar grabada, pueden verlo en diferido y después contestar un cuestionario y de esa manera también tendrían acreditado, en este caso, la capacitación de Beatles que vamos a hacer hoy. Bueno, les comentaba que hoy tenemos una capacitación del mundo musical, instrumental de los Beatles, que es súper interesante y que está a cargo de John Holberg, bajista, compositor, arreglador y graduado de LIPA. Así que será un placer seguramente escucharlo dentro de unos minutos. Sí les voy a pedir algunas cuestiones técnicas. Primero aclarar que la reunión, por supuesto, John va a estar hablando en inglés y va a ir deteniéndose para que Li Wen, quien está traduciendo ahora lo que estoy diciendo en inglés, pueda hacer la traducción correspondiente. Les vamos a pedir que las preguntas que puedan ir surgiendo en el transcurso de la charla las puedan ir escribiendo en el chat y en algunos momentos de la reunión, Lucas, quien está aquí presente, va a ser quien modere un poco esas cuestiones, estos cuestionamientos que vayan apareciendo para que Jan también pueda responderlos. Les vamos a pedir que no dejen, o sea, no saquen del mute a su micrófono, es decir, nunca desmuten para hacer preguntas, sino que para no interrumpir a Jan en su conversación y en su presentación, que por favor siempre manténganse silenciados para que, bueno, no interrumpir un poco la dinámica de Jan. Y bueno, por supuesto yo voy a estar presente para también cualquier duda que tengan. Voy a ir tomando registro de quienes estuvieron presentes y para la aclaración para los que recién llegan es que esta reunión está siendo grabada para que después, más adelante, quienes puedan ver el video tengan acceso al mismo.
Hello, everybody in Argentina. Nice to meet you. I'm in the middle of a snowstorm, but I assume you can hear me anyway. So I just get started and see how it goes along. My plan is to take you through a Beatles history tour, as I call it. To get the background for where they came from and how they started and how everything happened, basically. And then I'm going into composition methods and instrumentation arrangements, how they did it and how they developed during the years. And then we're going to check out and do an analysis of the 3 competition songs, which are Revolution, You Never Give Me Your Money, and Penny Lane. And then I'll do some stuff at the end as well. So that's basically what we're going to cover today. There's a lot to cover. Maybe I should introduce myself a bit more as well. I'm a musician, obviously. I have been at LIPA for over 3 years, did my degree, a Bachelor of Honors in Music Performance. It's quite some years ago, but I'm still very much in touch with LIPA. I'm there many times a year. I'm doing stuff, and I'm also always at the graduation ceremony invited, and I'm very close still with LIPA. LIPA was founded by Sir Paul McCartney and Sir Mark Featherstone Whitty. They started working on it in the early 90s, and the first students started in 1996. This was the school that George Harrison and Paul McCartney used to attend when they were younger. Yeah, so let's go into the Beatles and how I discovered this band, my background for being into the Beatles. I remember this like it was yesterday, not the song, but yesterday. And I was in my grandmother's kitchen. I was 11 years old, and this song came on radio. And I don't remember what I did before the song. I don't remember what I did after the song, but I remember every second of the song that was on the radio. So I was watching the radio on the wall, and the song was Obla-Di, Obla-Da by the Beatles. So I went home. I was on a holiday. I went home, and the first thing I did when I came home was to go to the record store. I wanted to buy a song called Obla-Di, Obla-Da. The man in the store didn't have it, so I was very disappointed. But he said, I have this album by this band called the Beatles, and he showed me this album, if you can see it, Live at the Hollywood Bowl, the Beatles. This is the album I got when I was 11 years old, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to buy it, because a band that has written such a good song as Obla-Di, Obla-Da maybe have more good songs. That was my thought. And I came home, put this on, and I heard She's a Woman, Ticket to Ride, Can't Buy Me Love, She Loves You, Help, A Hard Day's Night, All My Loving. Something happened with me that day, and I became a Beatles fanatic for life. So this album changed my life. Okay, so I became a Beatles fanatic at the time, and we're going to go into a bit the background of the Beatles, what happened, how did this really happen. So the very early beginning was in 1957, actually, when John Lennon's band at the time called the Quarrymen had a gig in Woolton, Liverpool. They played the gig, and afterwards, Paul was introduced to John backstage. Paul had his guitar with him, and he played a song called 20th Flight Rock, if I remember correctly. And John was very impressed by his guitar playing and his high-pitched, very clear voice. He didn't offer him a position in the band that day, but I think a week after the meeting, Paul joined John in the Quarrymen, and it started. So they started to write songs together at that time, early or late 50s. They were invited to go to Hamburg to play for a couple of years, period from 1960 to 1962. they became, I think, personally, they became the Beatles when they were in Hamburg, because they played for 6 days a week and 4 to 5 hours every night. They became such a tight and great band. So when they came back to Liverpool after the Hamburg years, they have changed a lot when it comes to sound. So they they were back in Liverpool around early 1962, 1961, something like that, and they wanted to try to get a record deal, and this is what was going to happen. They were turned down actually by Decca Records. They had an audition for Decca Records, and they didn't like them. They said to them that this music is not going to catch on. It's more guitar-oriented music, like the Shadows and stuff like that. That is the thing right now. So they turned them down. This episode is often called the biggest mistake ever in music history. So they got an audition for George Martin, which we're going to come back to a bit later. One of the great arrangers, composers. It's kind of funny. George Martin thought his first thought was that they were terrible, so he didn't like them. But as he said, he saw the potential anyway. So he signed them on, and then they recorded "Love Me Do," and that was their first single, and that went into 17th place in the charts, and it has an harmonica on it, which was kind of different as well. So already on the first song, that kind of stood out a bit. So "Love Me Do," 1962. They had made a big change. Pete Best was out, and Ringo was in the band. Yeah, so when "Love Me Do" went into 17th place, they finished their debut album called "Please Please Me," and then everything happened for the Beatles. You know, they became very big in England, and they started to get big in the US as well. So they went over there, played the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964, and then everything happened as well in America. A lot because of their fantastic hook lines, but also the sound, the new sound that they have created. When I speak about the Beatles, I kind of divide the Beatles years into 2 different eras, kind of. So now I'm talking until the year 1966, because I think there's a lot of big changes going on from 1967. So before 1966, they were very productive. They had a lot of albums out, like With the Beatles, Beatles for Sale, Rubber Soul, Help, and an amazing album in 1966 called Revolver. They were touring quite a lot in this period. They decided to stop touring and play concerts in 1966 because what I've heard is that they didn't see the point, because nobody could hear anything. They couldn't hear themselves because of the noise, and the audience couldn't hear the Beatles because of the noise they were making. So Candlestick Park, 1966, was their last gig or concert. So now we are entering a very, very interesting period of the Beatles timeline, the 67 to 70 years. I'm not going to go too much into it right now, because I want to do that later when we go into the arranging and composing thing and how they did stuff. So, but I'm going to say that the last 3 years the Beatles lasted, I think it was big changes, because they got more experimental, first of all, more complex arrangement albums, like Sgt. Pepper, and my favorite, Abbey Road, that I had to listen to today, and I was still thinking, wow, this is unbelievable what they did in 1969, 68, 69. So today, again, I was impressed, and I've heard a lot of Beatles stuff. So lot of big arrangements I would say, sums up the last 3 years of their existence. I think also George Martin became even more important the last 3 years, but he has done some amazing job on, if you want to really listen to what George Martin did for the Beatles, you can listen to Yesterday or Eleanor Rigby and just listen to the string arrangements. There's a lot to learn. It's it fits the songs perfectly, and it lifts them to an even higher level, I think. George Martin was educated at Guildhall School of Music, and he worked with the Beatles for their whole career. So I think that's kind of a rough look into the how the Beatles went on from start to end. I think we'll go into more of the composition and the arranging side of things as I see it. You know, there is so many answers to everything, and I have my answer, and well, I think so. You're allowed to disagree with me on things. What I'm going to say next, and for probably the rest of this lecture, is stuff that I hope will benefit people when they are going to work on the songs, maybe get some ideas. I'm not saying my ideas are the right. This is what Paul McCartney also says at LIPA. He says, because he's often there teaching, or not teaching, he's in and listen to the songwriting. And he always mentioned that this is just my opinion. He says, it might not be right, but this is what I think. There is no answer, you know, to this. So when Paul McCartney say that, you know, well, he's the right man to say things like that, because the guy has written some or the best songs in the world, as far as I'm concerned. So I think we should go into composition and arranging now a bit. So now we're coming to an interesting part, which really interests me quite a lot, and that's how did they come up with these songs? How did they work on the songs? Remember, this is it's in the 60s. It's a long time ago, you know, and they managed to do all the stuff they did, and I really wondered how is it possible? And one of the secrets they had, I think, and they have said so. Paul McCartney has said this, you know. First of all, about the hook lines, the choruses. Early on, they often started with the chorus first, like love me do, you know, I love you, or she loves you, yeah, she loves you, yeah, and so on. They are so strong hook lines that if you hear it once, you remember it. I think that's a kind of a bit of the secret. And there is this great story that Paul McCartney tells himself. It's on YouTube as well. They were working on She Loves You at Fort Lynn Road, which is Paul McCartney's childhood home in Liverpool. And him and John has been working on She Loves You. And they had the chorus down, she loves you, yeah, and that stuff. And they were really happy about the song, and I went into the living room where Paul's dad was sitting, Jim McCartney, and they played the song for him. And Jim, they sang She Loves You, yeah, and that stuff. And Jim answered, well, this is really nice, guys, but why don't you sing She Loves You, yes, instead? Because he was kind of tired of all the influences from America. So he wanted more English approach to the song. But they kept the yes, obviously. And I think it was very, very good of them to keep their original idea. The orchestration and stuff got bigger and bigger after 66. But we have already heard them introduce instruments earlier that was not the original instruments, because the Beatles were 2 guitar players, a bass player, and a drummer, and they were unbelievable singers. Of course, all the 2-3-part harmonies that they always had, which also made them have their own sound. But yeah, you could hear Norwegian wood, you can hear sitar for the first time. You know, I mean, it's a great idea. I don't know how they came up with that, but there was sitar on Norwegian wood, which is very different. They had accordion on We Can Work It Out, which also is quite early in their career. But after 66, the orchestration and the instrumentation became a lot bigger and more complex. As I probably mentioned, the arrangements got more big, you know, the brass arrangements, bigger, string arrangements, bigger, and as I mentioned earlier, more complex. I'd like to give you some example of this now. For instance, a song called Maxwell's Silver Hammer from Abbey Road has tuba. Fool on a Hill has a flute, you know, playing the theme. And probably the most amazing thing when I think about it is the mellotron on Strawberry Fields Forever. That was regarded as the synthesizer of the 60s. There is also a video on YouTube called explaining how they worked out things with that mellotron thing. You have huge orchestra on A Day in the Life, where they start. The idea was that the orchestra started at the lowest note they could play on their instrument and end on the highest. This happens twice in A Day in the Life. And one thing, they were very open-minded to things, always. So I'll give you an example of this. In a rehearsal, I think it was, John Lennon had this semi-acoustic guitar that he leaned towards his amplifier, and it created feedback. Yeah? And instead of reacting to, oh, what a terrible noise, they thought, wow, this is cool. Maybe we can use this. So what they did was they put that sound on a song called I Feel Fine. The first note is a feedback guitar. That's what I thought. That made them different, I think. I would like to talk to you about one composition of the Beatles, which I find, I don't know how to describe it really. It's a song on Abbey Road, of course, my favorite, as I mentioned earlier. There is this song called Because. Probably heard it, some of you guys. It was actually inspired by Ludwig van Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. That harpsichord thing going in the beginning, it's actually John Lennon kind of interpreting Beethoven in his own way, which is really cool. This is long before autotune. Autotune came in 98 or something, I think around there. This was in 1968 or 69, I'm not sure, but around there. And John, George, and Paul recorded their vocals all the way through the song, 3-part harmonies. And then they dubbed it twice more. So actually, it's 9 voices on that song. So it's 3 from John, 3 from Paul, 3 from George. That's how they put together that song. And I don't know what to say about it, except it's an extraordinary recording. You should check it out if you haven't heard it. Yeah. Again, I want to say, have a listen to that song. It's do that tonight before you go to bed. Have a listen to, because it's unbelievable, I tell you. Actually, I've been listening to Abbey Road a couple of times today, so I'm a bit wow. Still, you know, it's. I think when you listen to Abbey Road, when I'm on the Abbey Road subject, this is not in my script at all, but it's unbelievable what they do on this album, because all these songs put together, from your contest song, You Never Give Me Your Money. They have this string of songs going on. like golden slumbers and all this carry that weight and the put together. So I almost think, wow, they almost became some sort of a prog band as well. I think almost that they were the first ones to start that thing as well, long before bands like Genesis and bands like that started the prog in the 70s. Yeah, well, this is my point of view, so I might not be right, but I refer to bands like Genesis and stuff like that. They started the pro, and a band called Yes as well, which was really early when it comes to prog rock. I don't know this, but Beatles were a couple of years ahead of them. I think. Okay, I just have to add that I love Yes and I love Genesis. So nothing wrong with those. They're really, really great. The sad thing was that in 1970, it was over. The greatest band ever was over. What I find, I'm not going to talk too much about that because we are going into the music. But what I think people should think about is that I often referred to Paul McCartney because he's my Beatle guy, you know. I think about Paul McCartney was 28 years old when they broke up. Think about that. They did all this stuff before he was 29 years old. Wow. It's kind of unbelievable, isn't it? Then we should go into the music. First I want to say a few words only about what happened in 2023 with the Beatles. They released this song called Now and Then, if you have heard it and seen the video. For people like me, it's really emotional to watch the video, as I heard Obladi Oblada when I was a kid, and I will never forget that moment. I will never forget when I heard Now and Then for the first time as well, and that's just 2 years ago, 1 year ago. They have used modern technology to separate John's demo, and they have Ringo and Paul has recorded bass and drums over John's vocals, and they used George Harrison's guitars from a session they did in '95 when they didn't finish the song. It's very, very emotional for Beatles fans. And I know there are some other people that really agree with me here. When you watch the video, you can see all the four of them together again, which is very emotional for somebody like me. You see John, Paul, Josh, and Ringo in that video working on the song, you know. So you should check it out. That's called The Last Beatles Song, Now and Then. Now I want to go a bit into the three songs, but before that, I'd like to talk about and try to give you the way I arranged a song from a Beatle, from Paul McCartney, and how I approached and how I was thinking during because there's a lot of things happening in your head when you're going to do a cover, because you have to be creative, you have to be open-minded, and you have to get an idea where to go with the song. And I think this will be the thing for the students that are going to arrange songs. This is where they will be. They will be where I was when I tried my very best to arrange a song from Paul McCartney, and the song's name is My Valentine. I'll talk a bit about that process. I think it might be, I hope that somebody can pick up some ideas of how I approach when I did what they are going to do now. My Valentine is just an unbelievable ballad written in 2012 by Paul McCartney. It's a song to his wife, Nancy. I I worked hard to get, you know, I think you are allowed to do your own cover versions of songs without getting permission. I think you are, as long as you don't change lyrics and stuff like that, I think. But I got the idea in 2001 to do something nice for my hero on his 80th birthday in 2022, the year after. So my idea was, I want to take a song from Paul and arrange it and release it as a tribute to Paul. So I have this connection with LIPA, as you know, always in touch and always over there and doing stuff. And I didn't really know Sir Mark Featherstone Whitty at the time that much. He's the founder of LIPA. But I struggled with the rights to the song because I wanted to do everything right, because I didn't want my big hero to be mad at me at some point. So I want the permission, even if I maybe didn't need it. I wanted the permission. But nothing really happened. I was back and forth with the publishing company, and I gave up. But what I did was, I thought you should never give up on your hero. So what I did, I wrote this personal, very emotional personal letter where I told him the story about Obladi Oblada and how I discovered, and you know, I sent it to Mark, the founder, co-founder of LIPA. Yeah, I sent it to him and forgot about it. And 3 or 4 weeks later, I'm actually receiving a personal message from Paul with all the rights for the songs. And he saw it as an honor if I did that song. So, and suddenly the publishing office was really helpful. So I got the rights for the song from Paul himself, actually. When I got the permission from Paul, you know, I was good to go. So, and then I started to think, and this might be a thing that the students will experience as well. My first thought was, after I got permission, what am I going to do? Because I thought that the song was perfect as it was. So I thought, how am I going to approach? I think this is the issue when it comes to doing something like this, as you guys are going to do now, and in my case as well. Where do I start? What do I do? What instrumentation? So I had this theme in my head. I didn't want to make a copy of Paul. The original is kind of a smooth jazz version. I thought I'm going to try to make it more of a pop song. And I had this theme in my head, played on acoustic or electric guitar. So I started to build a song around the theme that I had. That was it. That was the start of how I approached my arrangement. I started to work on the song. I had this theme and I wanted to make it a pop song. So what I did, I took elements from Beatles songs. So for instance, I had the song The Long and Winding Road in my mind, at the back of my head when I was arranging it. So we use some orchestration. We have this big outro with a lot of orchestration, brass and stuff like that. So I managed to create a version which is very different from Paul's, which was my goal. And I realized that, wow, this is really dangerous, because there's a lot of people who's loving the original. But it went well. It's still being aired on radio, and I am happy about that. And but it was a challenging thing, which I assume that many of the students in Argentina as well will experience at some point. But I think the best advice I can give is be open-minded, like the Beatles has always been, you know. And there are no rules, basically. You can try out the instrument if you want to try out a church organ or something like that on one of your arrangements. Do it, because it might work. Be open-minded. That's probably one of my best advices and what I've learned from the Beatles. As I said, be open-minded. Try out things. If it doesn't work, at least you tried, and then you can try to move on to something else. There's so much to choose from. So I think it's very satisfying when you feel that you have succeeded with doing a cover or an arrangement that you really like. So I wish all the best to everybody for that. So just go for it. I think it's time to go into the contest songs. You have picked amazing songs. I really don't know where to start. Penny Lane is just, I'll talk about it when I come to the song, actually. If Lucas maybe assist me now and put up I'm not going to go too much into theory, because I don't know where people are when it comes to harmony. My purpose with this, call it an exercise if you want, is to show you how it works, and then go into the chord progressions of the Beatles, the most common chord progressions, because this is kind of important when it comes to arranging, so you know where you are, know where to start, and maybe what scale to use. But Beatles often changes keys in songs. We are going to go into that now. Some seconds. There it is. I hope you see it. I'll try to explain it very, very, very quickly. This is the C major scale. You can see that you have different chords, C, D minor, and so on upwards. And these are chords that belongs to the C major scale. This is the chords you get if you build triads of tones and notes that are in the major scale. So, for instance, the 5th degree, the V, that's always a dominant chord, always. So if you see a G7, it's always in the key of C. Beatles often used 1, 6, 2, 5. Okay, so that's C going to A minor, D minor, and G. Thanks, Lucas. A lot of the song, this was a very common chord progression, and this is also in Penny Lane. We'll get back to it. So if your students now are going to maybe arrange a string arrangement or something, if these are the chords, you can use C major scale. That will work always. But as we are going to go into soon, the Beatles have some kind of intricate, and they are going outside the scales. I'll show you in a second. But this is the ground principle for many Beatles songs, at least for the first years, anyway.
So we've been talking about this, and my question, Shan, for you is, as you have arranged things and you were brought up musically in Europe and in Liverpool particularly, so this arrangement based on chord structures and the degrees, like you said, just like 1, 6, 2, 5, maybe used in their era. Do you approach every arrangement like this? Were you taught like this? Like the difference between how you study harmony from where you are and how we may have studied here in Argentina? If you could share a little bit of that, please.
Yeah, actually, when I was a student at LIPA, I was always interested in harmony. always, long before I came to Liverpool and LIPA and all that stuff. So this is kind of a favorite topic for me. So I was really interested in learning harmony. So at LIPA, you can choose your direction as a musician. Yeah, I chose the harmony, an advanced harmony at LIPA because I was going to be a studio musician, so freelance session musician. So I thought for me it was really important to learn these things. So I did. I studied that for 3 years, and we were taught the major scale and degrees in all keys, of course. And then we were trained to improvise over jazz harmony, for instance, 2-5-1. I don't know if you are familiar with that, but that means a D minor, and a G, and a C. And then you be asked, what scale do you want to use? What can you use over those chords? So when you see a lead sheet, yeah, with lots of chords, if you see a D minor and a G and a C, you don't have to think, oh, I have to use the C major. Oh, I have to use the minor, D minor. No, you can use C major only on all those 3 chords because they are in the scale. Yeah, if you understand what I'm saying. So we were taught to use and learn the scales like this, because if it answers your question. If you learn this, you know, it might save you from a lot of struggle and searching for the right notes. But the thing is that many songs, as we're going into on the contest songs, they modulate, they change the key. They can start in C, but then they change. A very typical thing that the Beatles did, and many others as well, is, okay, you can have, let me think of an example. If you have a common chord, chords will be D minor, going to G to the 5th degree, and to the C. But the next chord could be an E7, which fits also perfectly when you think of melody. But as I mentioned 3 minutes ago, the E7 is a dominant chord, and the dominant chord in C major is G. So this means that you have changed key, right? You follow me? So we are now in the key of A, because E7 is the dominant of A. Okay, if you can follow me now. And I find this very interesting, you know, because it fits. A song like I Saw Her Standing There from Beatles, Paul McCartney, that starts with E7. So musicians, when they play I Saw Her Standing There, you know, I have actually experienced this myself. I don't know, what key do we play in if you play I Saw Her Standing There? What key is it in? And they say E. It's not. It's in A, because it starts on the dominant 7, which belongs to A, if you understand me. So I think these are things that you should think about when arranging. To think a bit about harmony and be open-minded, as I said, and try out different orchestration, and also try maybe change tempo, maybe double the tempo or whatever. The sky is the limit when it comes to this. So it's going to be very exciting to hear what the results are going to be. That's really interesting. So Lucas, should we go to Revolution? Revolution is a song from the White Album, if I remember correctly, written in or released in '68. It was a protest song, and Paul didn't really agree to this song because it was kind of, you know, it didn't want to cause anything by being political. But the song is actually about that everything is going to be all right. So it's kind of a good message in there. That's this typical John Lennon. So it's a John Lennon song, and it has a bluesy feel to it. It starts with heavy distorted guitar, which is really cool. So this is a song I would just want to have a quick look at. It's in the key of B all the way through except one chord. I didn't, on the other songs I put a ring around the chords that's modulate, but I didn't do that on this one. But it's, yeah, there we go. This is outside the B major scale. But it works, you know. The rest of it is it's very easy. I think myself, I would like also to arrange this one because I see so many opportunities when it comes to deconstructing this song, make it a ballad, do the George Martin approach and add big string sections or whatever. I think this song has so much potential to. I think this is an easy song to change. I don't know why, but I feel that. So it's a good choice. I didn't see this one coming, but I also noticed that you have picked songs from the late years of the Beatles, which is cool. All these songs are from 67 and 68, 69. So you didn't pick any from the early years. But they are really good choices. So it's going to be interesting. I'm not going to talk too much about Revolution. It's a great song. It has a shuffle feel to it and kind of bluesy feel. And it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. This is not the whole song. There are some other things in there, but I've taken the major things. It's released on my favorite album. Did I mention that Abbey Road is my favorite album? 1969. The song is written by Paul. It's about Alan Klein. I don't know if you know who Alan Klein is, but he became their manager after Brian Epstein passed. But Alan Klein was not a nice guy at all. You know, he kind of tricked them and tricked them for money and stuff like that. John, George, and Ringo really liked the guy, but Paul didn't really like him. I've seen this photo recently of the Beatles together with Alan Klein, and Paul doesn't look happy in that picture. So he didn't, and he was right. He really, really did some bad stuff to them. So the song "You Never Give Me Your Money" is about him, basically, the lyrics. So that's the background. This was actually a part of adding fuel to the breakup because they disagreed about Alan Klein so much, and because he was tricking them for money and everything. So this was a part of them actually breaking up a year later or something like that. So the chords, I haven't written down the scale there because everything in the verse is in the key of C, except E7, of course, which I mentioned earlier belongs to A. So when students, this is my opinion though, when they are going to try to arrange this song, you know, be aware of the modulations in the song, which happens everywhere. I have put a circle around it. If you go further down and see this out of college money spent, you have the E7 and the C7, and they are both, as mentioned earlier. E7 is in the key of A, C7 is in the key of F. So these chords are outside the scale the song started in. So if you try to play a melody line using the C scale over C7, at some point it won't be that nice. So be aware of those chords. Also B flat at the bottom left. It could belong to anything because there is no 7 there, but it could actually be the B major scale only. It's just a B flat. So again, a song, it's a beautiful song, you know, and it's an amazing playing. The bass playing by Paul, it's just it's just unbelievable. Lot of potential for arranging. They can speed it up, they can double the tempo, they can do whatever they want, you know. Very strong melody. So very nice choice.
May I ask my second question, if you don't mind? Well, thank you very much. So from what you've been talking and seeing in this music you've been sharing, is that there are some chords that participate off the scale and some not, like the tonality center-based songs, but they have like little moments outside of the usual key center. As you have studied there and been with Paul McCartney, so your take on this is actually done from not having a great understanding of harmony as a lecturer, right? So not studying specifically, but doing via intuition. Like it sounded good, it works, then we don't ask a question if it's correct, right? So that's another approach I would like you to share with us as you've been in contact with that world as well. That is not like an academic world, but a more intuition-based approach. And then you can ask the question, how is work and why, and what's the meaning of the song, right? But if you can share some of that, that would be grateful. I'm going to translate myself now.
I wish I knew the answer to Paul McCartney's brain works, because he has such a detail for melodies. Paul doesn't know too much harmony, as far as I know. He never kind of studied harmony, but he hears things all the time, which sounds good in his head. You know, we're talking about a person who goes to bed in the night and wakes up and have the melody of yesterday in his head. That's how he dreamt it. He dreamt the melody of yesterday. So it's hard to explain, man. He just hear things that harmonically fits very well, like Let It Be as well. You know, if I remember, he had this dream about his mother. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. That was also kind of something that he has dreamt. So he's not too much into harmony. And it seems to work pretty well for him, to be honest. But it helps knowing harmony. That's what I think. I think a combination of the Paul McCartney method and knowing some basic harmony anyway will be a good combination. That's what I think. I often use my harmony knowledge if I compose or improvise, at least. So both things works. He has a different approach. I started to think, I do think that they didn't know what they were doing in the 60s. This is my opinion. They just heard stuff that sounded good. I don't think they knew, at least in the early years, too much harmony, that they knew that the B minor 7 flat 5 belongs to the key of C. You know, I really don't think that, but that's my opinion. But they made it anyway. So we are going to a masterpiece. Well, another masterpiece, Penny Lane. This could, there's so much to say about Penny Lane, but I'm going to try to make it kind of short and informative. I'm always in Penny Lane when I'm in Liverpool. I always end my journeys in Penny Lane. So I have my profile picture on Facebook and stuff is me at the Penny Lane sign. It's not now, but I'm going to put it back. This is Paul's view on everyday life in Penny Lane. Penny Lane is a street in the area all members except Ringo, I think, was from Bootle. That's the other side of Liverpool. But George, Paul, and John comes from the same area, in the Penny Lane area. And he describes a normal day in Penny Lane when it comes to the lyrics. So it's kind of fun if you walk down Penny Lane, you can see some of the stuff he sings about in the song, like the barber shop is there. It might not be the same as this in the 60s, but the barber shop is there, the runabout is there, the bus shelter is there and everything. So it's kind of strange. I didn't see any firemen though, but that's okay. So it sees reference to everyday life in the Penny Lane area when they grew up. Some fun facts about Penny Lane is there is no guitar on Penny Lane. That's kind of strange. I have never thought about it before I read some fun facts a few months ago. There's no guitar on it, which is kind of different. But there is a piccolo trumpet, and that trumpet solo is, very, very famous, played by Dave Mason. It was came together when Paul McCartney was watching, I think it was the Brandenburger Concerto on television one night, and I think that's where he heard the bright trumpet, and got the idea to record the piccolo trumpet on Penny Lane. So he and George Martin wrote down the melody Paul had in his head for the trumpet solo, wrote it, lead sheets, scores, and they got a session player named Dave Mason in to play the solo. Another fun fact is that trumpet was sold on auction in 1987 for £11,000 or dollars. So I don't know who has it, but somebody has. So let's go to the chords. It's very interesting. First of all, I want to mention Paul's bass playing makes the song for me. He plays the major scale from that B, and it moves the whole song normally. A normal bass player will probably just play the chord progression, chord changes, but he doesn't. He plays a walking bass line, makes the song move. Makes it kind of happy feeling. As my daughter say, this song is making happy, which is cool. So this song is in two keys, B major and A major. The verse is in the key of B until, you can probably see it. It goes to the B minor, which is outside. There's no ring around that one. So then it goes to the B minor with the G sharp in the bass, G major 7, and to the F susses before the chorus. You can see here that I have written into chorus with red. That's supposed to be an E7 probably, because if you see the next chord in the chorus, that's an A. And as we mentioned, E7 is the dominant of A. And then it goes into the chorus, which stays in the key of A until that F sharp 7 at the end. It modulates for the last chorus. But another thing with this song, when a song modulates, it usually modulates up, if you know what I mean. But if you see on Penny Lane, it modulates down from B and a whole step down to A, which is also something I haven't seen that much. And it works perfectly. So how we came up with that, I have no idea. And this was released on a single with the Strawberry Fields Forever. I think it was the B side, but it became a major hit for the Beatles. A fantastic song. So again, when people are going to arrange it or work on this song, ask for the other ones. Be open-minded and try out different instrumentation like the Beatles did. There are no limits. Try things. So that's as I said, my best advice. So I wish everybody good luck. with the songs. I think that's it. Questions?
bueno.
If there's anything you think I missed out on, that just ask me. I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the result of this, and it's a very, very exciting project you have going. Really, I hope really that I covered some of the ground that you wanted me to cover. You know, it's a lot of personal stuff going on here, since I have this close connection with Liverpool, and also the last years with Paul himself. So I'm speaking from the top of my head. So a lot of my own opinions, but I think I'm not too far off.
Muchísimas gracias. Aprovecho para, bueno, para ir cerrando. Si alguien tiene alguna pregunta, sería un lindo momento para aprovecharlo a Jan, que está acá disponible. Bueno, desearles mucha suerte a todos en este proceso de arreglo que van a estar iniciando. Recordarles que también están las capacitaciones sobre la metodología orquesta-escuela, que complementan el trabajo y la capacitación que acaban de escuchar, porque le incorporan la cuestión pedagógico-metodológica para poder acercarse a los criterios que se piden en las bases y condiciones del concurso. Agradecerle, por supuesto, a Jan Holberg, que ha sido una hermosa experiencia esta charla, este regalo que nos ha dado de conocer más el mundo de los Beatles, no tanto, desde su historia, desde sus experiencias y también desde lo estrictamente musical y lo armónico. Creo que todos nos llevamos muchas cosas para pensar, para diagramar, para seguir profundizando. Así que, bueno, muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes por haberse tomado el tiempo de estar aquí hoy. Y bueno, si nadie tiene alguna pregunta, podemos ir cerrando. Gracias, Lucas, también por haber estado disponible al pie del cañón, como se le dice, con los links. Gracias, Liwen, por todo el trabajo enorme que has hecho de traducción. Muy, muy profesional, así que gracias por tu aporte. Y bueno, gracias a todos.
Adiós.
Adiós.